You can see my screen, yeah?
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Today we're going to be talking about managing your nonprofit on the HubSpot platform. So it's going to be a pretty cohesive overview of all of the really neat things that you can do with HubSpot, leveraging the nonprofit program through HubSpot. So today we have two great speakers, Emily Wingrove and Connor Jeffers. I'll let them introduce themselves. So take it away, guys.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I am Emily Wingrove. I am VP of Client Services for Aptitude 8. And so all of our wonderful, amazing delivery teams and consultants all are under my purview and help clients, much like some that are visiting us today.
Awesome. I'm Connor. I'm the A8 CEO, and I work a lot on our product side. For anybody new coming in, it's likely I'll chat with you during some of our pre-sales components as well. But I'm really excited. We've been working really closely with the HubSpot nonprofit team on different ways that you guys can apply HubSpot to some of what you guys are doing. Really excited to see more on the nonprofit focus on the HubSpot end and some amazing discounts for nonprofits as well. So jumping into kind of what we're going to cover today, we're going to go through a couple of sections. We're going to talk about both thematic sort of things and how you guys can tackle different types of problems within HubSpot. We'll also go through some sort of feature specific examples of what you can use in HubSpot that apply specific to your nonprofit. So if you do have questions or comments, do throw them in the chat. We'll be happy to take sort of questions at the end here. And then we're going to cover fundraising and engagement, donor management, web experiences, which is Emily's favorite topic on the web ops side. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about the HubSpot nonprofit program, how to qualify, what the rules are, especially as folks are just kind of discovering what you can do there. So with that, we're going to talk through a couple of tools for fundraising and engagement and what you can use inside of HubSpot in order to engage with and target some of your fundraising initiatives and all the different ways you can do that. So with that, Emily, I'll pass it to you and cover sort of the high level, and then we'll go to these one by one.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously fundraising is a huge part, and donor management, huge part of a nonprofit. So top of the list here is email automation. Obviously being able to communicate NASCOM is going to enable a lot of opportunity here. But more than just the email too, I'll say that just workflows in general and having automation for a nonprofit beyond even just fundraising to maybe you don't have as much staff, automation is going to be your best friend. Another feature here is going to be audience segmentation. So having lists that are either active or static, or maybe you're using different types of properties to differentiate the types of donors, or is this just a buyer versus a donor? Other things, landing pages, web experiences, right? Creating specific landing pages for campaigns that are just for a specific fundraising event. Social media is a big one, of course, and that's both paid and organic. Lots of features that we'll dive into deeper. And then Zebra is actually an app that Aptitude 8 built, and Connor will dive in deeper on this as well, but allowing for Stripe integration natively in HubSpot. So payments, all of that stuff covered here. So lots of good things for fundraising. Let's go a little deeper.
Sweet. So one of our obviously favorite features of HubSpot, one that everyone knows a little bit because the marketing platform has been around for a little while, but are really powerful for a lot of different fundraising activities, is obviously email marketing. And so with all of the email automation tools inside of HubSpot, you can communicate with all of your potential donors, any active donors, managing any communications around upcoming initiatives, different fundraising events that you might be holding. Really, HubSpot can be sort of your one-stop shop, not only for list emails that you might be sending out, but also leveraging different email automation. So we'll talk about this when we start to get into some of the other functionality inside of HubSpot, but being able to trigger automated emails off of when someone donated. The last time someone donated was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, different sort of time parameters, or off of different triggers, like someone visiting the website, maybe viewing your donation page, but not sort of following through on a donation, as well as campaigns around some of the programs or initiatives that you might be pursuing. This will sort of tie in a little bit more as we get to some of the other functionality. Some of the best parts on HubSpot, obviously, is your ability to tie in all of those different features together.
Social media, big one here. And like I mentioned, this applies to both organic and paid. But as you can see here, there's lots of reporting that's going to come out of the box with HubSpot's organic social media impressions, likes, reactions, replies, retweets, shares, all of that good stuff is going to come through. And you can also monitor like who's talking about your company on social and see that in your HubSpot instance. Another piece here, though, on the paid side. So if you were going to do a campaign targeting folks to donate, a fundraising event, you can integrate all of your ad platforms directly into HubSpot, manage the ads themselves directly in HubSpot, and all of the reporting is native out of the box, comes perfectly like attributed if you're using the ad integration inside of HubSpot. So that's a huge opportunity here. And again, analytics are going to be everything, not just for social media, but for workflows, for email. Reporting is just across the board going to be a huge asset to any nonprofit.
Zebra. So I want to touch on this for a second, which is some of the new HubSpot payments and other functionality has been touted for nonprofits. There are some constraints there around receipts and being able to sort of have different donation categorizations. And so with Zebra, which is a new product that I think we're formally launching tomorrow. Anyone that's interested, we're happy to give you a preview ahead of that. But being able to have a really robust connection between HubSpot and Stripe. So Stripe, the payment processor, and with Zebra, you're able to capture different donations, whether you're collecting donations on the web, you want to be able to send sort of a payment link to somebody of like a donation form so they can type in a credit card and either make a one-time or recurring donations, as well as being able to collect donations over the phone. So you can actually do that by opening a CRM card straight from any record in HubSpot, collecting a credit card, typing it into a PCI compliant form, and processing that donation. So if you have call centers or if you have different sort of the fundraising folks internally that are working on some of those pieces, making it really easy for them to capture those donations right in the CRM. And then the benefit of that is all of that data runs through your Stripe account, and you can sync all of that right back into HubSpot. So you can report on all of those key items in HubSpot, what your recurring donations are, when the last time people donated, and then some of those other tools that we talked about, like the email automation, can tie into all of that data as well. So this is this is a HubSpot app from the app marketplace. There are tons of apps in the app marketplace. I highly recommend checking it out. But specific for nonprofits, where we find that Zebra adds a lot of value for some of the actual collecting of those donations beyond just marketing and sort of managing your process for getting those donations in the first place.
Audience segmentation. This is huge for nonprofits. You're going to have different segments for different reasons that you're going to ask them for donations, or an event perhaps that you're inviting them to. So knowing who the people are in your database and being able to distinguish among them with properties is huge. And then obviously the feature of lists, smart or static, to build things that can be sent based off of a workflow. So someone does an action on your website and an email gets sent. You can create ad audiences with lists. You can actually even create, I think they're called in HubSpot, ad sequences. So you can target a certain segment, like from a list that you've built in HubSpot, target it through the ads, and then have it be more than just one ad. So the first time they see it, it's one ad. The second time it's something else. So the message can keep going versus one quick inline in-feed ad. And that's all sort of powered by lists. Other things are for people who may not have received your email because their email address is invalid, or maybe there's a typo, or it was bounced, or wasn't open. You can create lists based off of all of the actions or outcomes that happen as a result of your email marketing, or honestly any marketing inside of HubSpot, whether it's maybe failed payments from Connor's example with Zebra. Creating a list so that you can isolate those folks and then do something about it is super powerful inside of HubSpot.
And of course, custom landing pages. So this is in the Marketing Hub side, but you can kind of extend some of this to your full website, which Em will talk about a little bit later. But in HubSpot Marketing Hub, the ability to create landing pages right inside of HubSpot, really, really easy also. I think the best sort of value add on the HubSpot side is once you set up some of your light branding functionality inside of the HubSpot Marketing Hub, you can build those landing pages collect new donors, collect new information about new donors, people interested in some of the content that you may be putting out and releasing through that email marketing function, provision those landing pages really easily right through HubSpot, and then track and manage all of that data all the way back through the rest of the CRM. One of our favorite features in here is dynamic content. So what that means is being able to automatically personalize that page based on who people are. Maybe you want to show different content to people that are already donors, maybe people who are already contributing to a particular campaign that you're running. Maybe they're in an interest group or sort of part of a particular audience. And so using the landing pages tool inside of HubSpot, you can both easily build those pages to promote the various campaigns that you're pursuing, as well as being able to sort of segment and dynamically change the content on those pages based off of who's visiting it. So if you're doing any nonprofit marketing, think about sort of that landing page tool as a way to create those hubs for all that content you might be putting out and collect information from potential donors or current donors about all the different things you might be promoting.
One quick note before we go to the next slide on the dynamic content here, because this applies for smart content and emails, dynamic content on pages. It's amazing. You can create this custom experience for the end user, but for the operator, for the nonprofit, you're actually receiving the benefit of efficiency and not having to create a separate email, a separate list, or a separate landing page and a separate list for each of these segments. Instead, you just have the one email, the one page that has parts of it that are dynamic. So you don't have to go clone a bunch of emails and then swap out different parts, or clone a bunch of pages and swap out different parts for your campaign. It's so streamlined inside of HubSpot because of the dynamic component and the smart content features that you just save so much time.
Sweet. Let's talk about donor management. So everything we just talked about at the top end is tools that you can use to actually be bringing in new potential donors and sort of engaging people in your fundraising efforts. But what we really look at this is how can you be tracking and managing what your engagement is with some of your existing donors. So HubSpot has a plethora of tools sort of scattered across both the sales and the marketing hub that will help you manage a lot of this. So we'll talk through kind of each of these, but meeting scheduling and being able to easily get time with your donors and track and manage when the last time you met with people is. Document management. One of the things we see a lot is sharing, whether it's a prospectus, upcoming fundraising initiatives, any type of documents that you're sharing, being able to track and manage engagement with those assets. Email and call tracking. One of the biggest things for nonprofits is where does our relationship stand? What's the last time that we talked to somebody, managing all of those pieces? Our campaign management, so how you can organize your efforts overall. And all of that obviously ties into the fully integrated HubSpot CRM and bringing everything together all at once. So we'll go through a couple of examples here and Em, I'll give you kind of this first one and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, speaking of everything sort of being all in one, your meeting scheduling is right under the same roof inside of HubSpot. You can embed the calendar, you can send the link via email, but either way, you're giving easy access to your calendar. And it may not just be your calendar, maybe it's a team of folks. You can do round robin so that someone can find the perfect time, reduce the friction. They don't have to go scrounging through people's calendars. They see the one calendar link, they click it, they pick a time that works for them so that you can get easy access to your folks.
Something to add on for that one as well is I think there's both, if you're managing the scheduling component, HubSpot gives you kind of that easy link. You can email somebody, grab some time with me. But this will also sync any meetings from either your Google or your Outlook calendar as well, regardless of whether they're scheduled in HubSpot. Really easy to find out when the last time that we actually met with somebody was. With meeting types, you can also power a lot of really cool reporting here too. So knowing when was the last time that we took this person either out to some sort of a fundraising dinner, or maybe they attended one of our upcoming events, and being able to segment not just by when was the last time we talked to them, but when was the last time we had a particular type of interaction with that person. Document management. So I talked about this one a little bit before, but one of the coolest parts of sort of HubSpot and tying all of this together is if you send any attachments at all, you should be using this. So what we find a lot is sending different overviews on different efforts that you might be pursuing, maybe programs, different sort of events that you guys might be running, ways to be able to sort of share a file that with somebody, whether it's a PDF or a Google Slides or a PowerPoint or whatever it might be. So with the document management in HubSpot, you can centrally upload all of those different files that your team might be sending to donors at any given time. It makes it really easy straight from HubSpot. You can find the right file, send the right file, but the real value here is in tracking and managing the engagement on that file. So not only can you see which one of the documents that you guys might be sending out actually gets the most interest, but you can see who's viewing it, when the last time they viewed it was, and really help you with some of those donor management activities by really finding out how engaged with something somebody is. And of course, that ties into those reporting and automation tools. So you can do really cool stuff like, I sent the person sort of the program overview on sort of this particular initiative we're running. They haven't opened that document yet. Let me automatically email them and remind them that we have that coming up until they actually open and engage with that particular file. So really awesome functionality to be able to track and manage a lot of that donor engagement.
Email and call tracking. This is super, super beneficial. Certainly your teams are putting in a lot of work to call, email, get a hold of folks so that it's all under the same roof again of HubSpot and all tracked right there on the contact record. Super helpful to know what's going on. Maybe one of your reps or account managers is out and someone else needs to tap in and see and call someone. They can go through that contact record, see every single call. And keep me honest here, Connor, I believe that HubSpot even has some transcription available.
Yes, they actually, transcription just got brought down also to the pro tier, I believe. So you can now do transcription with the Sales Hub Pro versus needing Enterprise previously.
Yep. So you can even call, HubSpot has voice over IP. So you can call directly from your browser. That's another major selling point here. Getting your queue ready, having all of it there, again, for yourself to go look at, but also for others to go look at. And also this data, it's activity data, I believe some of it can be used in workflows. So something to think about as you sort of grow and scale the nonprofit.
Campaign management. Campaigns in HubSpot are amazing. So they kind of help you do two really awesome things. So one component with campaign management in HubSpot is that for any campaigns that you guys are running, you can associate all of the different stuff that supports that campaign together. So we talked about emails, we've talked about events, we've talked about files. You can attach all of those different components to a particular campaign and then easily centralize everything that you're doing for any particular initiative in one place. And then it aggregates all of that information together so that you're able to see the performance of that initiative across everything you're doing. So easily seeing how many views are we getting, how many visitors are we bringing in, how many new contacts, how many new donors, and you can see all of that across the entirety of the campaign in one view, regardless of how many different assets you might be having. So both from an organization, but also a reporting perspective, and you can sort of track and manage all of that engagement across all of your donors and your prospects to really easily see what the influence of sort of the efforts that you're engaging in are.
Something else for campaigns that's relatively recent for HubSpot updates is the ability to associate a form to a campaign, which previously wasn't something that you could do. But if you do have a specific form for this specific campaign, it makes so much sense to add it to the campaign because then you can add in all of the form reporting as well as all of the other channels and assets that you have associated with that campaign. Only call out there is if you're using that form for other things, you would want to not do that so that the data doesn't get mixed. So make sure that you're using a unique form if you want to associate it to a campaign. And then having everything fully integrated is going to, for me, this is probably the biggest selling point because it keeps things less chaotic, less hectic. It's all there under the same roof. You've got all of your main tabs at the top, marketing, sales, service. And it helps you bring in the right audience, manage that audience. So top to bottom of the funnel, full funnel approach, it's all sitting inside of HubSpot. It's obviously just added benefit of maybe short-staffed, efficiency, time saving. Connor, feel free to add on here, but I just feel like this is a big, easy softball of it's all in the same place.
Absolutely. I don't think there's much more to be added than that, which is sort of the benefit. And what we see a lot with nonprofits is in order to manage sort of all the different pieces, we usually see nonprofits using a ton of different tools and technology. So I think the main value here is, if you've sort of seen through each one of these, is that you're probably using some point solution that solves that particular part of the problem. And we actually really see the magic with HubSpot is that sort of the sum is greater than, or the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. I reversed that one for a second there. But we really see when we bring all of that together, not only do we reduce sort of friction between these different tools, but we start to get rid of confusion on which system has which data, which place is this person in, this data didn't sync, and bringing all of this together allows us not only to sort of simplify the overall technology footprint, but also to bring all of this technology together and report on it in one central place, and sort of ease that experience across the entirety of it. And I think especially with nonprofits, we find that they usually have a pretty fragmented tech stack. And so being able to bring all this together helps across the board.
It also helps with consistency. Sorry, just something I thought of, consistency of like the language and vernacular that you're using. If anyone who's on the call today is a marketer, you probably hate the word campaign as much as I do because it's used in every single platform in a different way. So if everything is in HubSpot, you create this like consistency of how you talk about things and the objects that are in HubSpot, and you don't have to worry about that object being confused with some other object in some completely separate system that's probably disparate. So, all right, moving on. The web experience, of course, this is my favorite part, and I do want to have a little flair, a little section here for memberships, but sort of to intro, I think what may be the most important thing for a nonprofit is their story and their connection to their community and the way that they serve that community, because usually the community is why the nonprofit started in the first place. So being able to tell your story is critical, and doing it on a static website that doesn't change is very difficult. And that is not what you would be dealing with when you're working with HubSpot CMS Hub. So the website would be hosted on CMS Hub. You can leverage all under the same roof, all of the data that's sitting in your sales pipeline, all of the data that's in your marketing funnel, all of that can be leveraged. Even external data can be leveraged and put onto your website and done in a dynamic way that is relevant to your users. Other piece here is content SEO management. HubSpot has done a phenomenal job, and the ramp that they've been climbing for SEO as far as their feature development has just been chef's kiss. But knowing that what you have written down on your website is going to help you rank in Google and Bing and search engines for the right thing is so critical, because that's your visibility. And doing that locally may also be important to you, all possible with HubSpot's SEO tools. And then live chat, which I'll also do like sort of a add on here with chat bots. Live chat's going to be great. You can integrate it right into your website. It's HubSpot's, so it's not some other separate platform that's disparate. It's with HubSpot, so you can quickly answer questions directly on your site. You could also set up a bot though that may create a path to send someone down the right, path, excuse me, lots of paths here, but that's what websites are. They can be very confusing. So your user journeys have to be set, and in a chatbot, you can literally make that user journey specific to where you want someone to go, and potentially could even get some donors through a chatbot. I was sort of riffing with Connor before this webinar, but maybe you could use Ops Hub to make it happen, but certainly tons of opportunity across the web. All right, so with memberships, a lot of nonprofits have memberships, right? Where you either pay to be a member, or you're getting access to certain types of content or certain types of event. HubSpot has a feature, I think it's called private contents, but I call it memberships because that is what it is. But it makes it possible so that you can have certain parts of your website dedicated or available only to certain users. And you can do that based off of their list membership. Again, coming back to the lists and how great it is to be able to isolate certain folks so that they can see the things that are most relevant to them, or the things that they paid for, right? So you can create a part of your website, or it could also be like a portal, and maybe it's on a subdomain, but it could be like, here's all of the things that you've bought. That's data that's getting pulled right in from the CRM. And all of that would be behind a login screen, and all of the system emails, system like pages to support memberships. Think, lost password, reset password, success you're in, all of those pages sort of that are templated through HubSpot, they're all there in the instance, and you can customize them, of course, but they're also there for users who are not so tech savvy. So you can set up a full portal, memberships portal, without having a ton of coding expertise or needing a developer, which is critical, again, when you think about a nonprofit, maybe they don't have access to a developer or have a big team of developers to do this.
I think to expand, and this is kind of an example of what this allows you to do. So I know Soleil asked about, can we issue tax receipts? So I'll answer a little bit more of that in kind of the Q&A section around Zebra and some of these other pieces. But if you have this information, so any of the donor history, any data you might have in HubSpot, maybe particular campaigns they supported, donor hierarchy, like who are the top donors this year, and showing that in sort of a list, or anything else you might want to expose specific to that particular user. With memberships, you can sort of create this portal experience of showing them all of that information in that memberships. They come to your site, they can log in, they can view their donor history, they can see the impact of their donations across everything. I think I've seen the World Wildlife Fund, or I might be messing up the organization name. They have the panda on the homepage, and I know it's HubSpot CMS. And that organization does something similar, where they're showing sort of, here are the different campaigns that someone donated to and the impact of those campaigns, being able to share a lot of this. But I think what Em also talked about is we run into lots of nonprofits where one form of monetization that they have is actually, and we see this with professional associations a lot, we see this with sort of different membership groups, where people at certain levels get access to certain kinds of content. So whether it's the issue or specific webinars or different content you might be putting out, if you're not doing that, we see a lot of nonprofits do that really successfully and be able to drive a fair amount of donor activity. But you can actually create this member-only area of your site, so that people who meet certain criteria get access to that. And then you can start to sort of gamify that a little bit also. And so we've seen a lot of really positive impacts for nonprofits leveraging memberships. And the coolest part is, like we talked about in that all-in-one, everything's integrated. So deciding whether or not someone should be a member is easy off of their HubSpot properties, versus trying to manage this separate login system, and also managing sort of their donating history and their CRM record, as we've seen with sort of different cobbled together tech stacks that we've run into.
Yeah, I love the gamification idea. And even thinking like calculated fields, again, anything that's in your CRM, you can display that on your website when you're using CMS Hub. So the world is your oyster. And I mean, almost limitless, I would say, of the things that you can do if you really just start to wrap your head around all of the data that exists in your CRM and your marketing automation platform, even your Service Hub. All of that can be on your website. So you can really get creative with how you tell your story and how you speak to and display things to your visitors.
Cool. So we'll jump into Q&A here in a second, but I want to introduce Kate from HubSpot's nonprofits team to talk a little bit about the nonprofit program, how you can qualify and speak to anything specific to the program. So Kate, I will hand it a little bit to you, and then we'll jump into questions.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Connor and Em and Aptitude 8. I think one of the most important things that I always feel about HubSpot is that nonprofits can really have everything in one place with tools that are really sleek and integrated. I have about 20 years of experience in the nonprofit industry as a fundraiser, major gifts person, membership builder, organizer, all of those different things, content producer. And I think the CMS, et cetera, as well as the CRM and the power to really have fundraising teams working with kind of engagement teams and social teams is just a game changer. And so you all did a great job kind of illustrating that. And thank you for really even talking through just even the chat features. Soleil, I see your question here as well. So HubSpot for Nonprofits is a program that offers 40% off HubSpot Pro Plus products for eligible organizations. And right now that means organizations that are located in the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, but we're also, and that's at scale. So for organizations applying, go over to hubspot.com/nonprofits. And if you're in one of those countries, you'll be able to apply for the program and very easily within a couple of minutes, see if you're eligible or not. You need to be a registered 501c3 or have equivalent status here in the United States, or a registered charity. And again, we really want to make sure that folks are aligning with HubSpot's mission to kind of have a better world for our grandchildren. And make sure that the organization that you're working with and serving has a mission to benefit the community. We are solving for our customers. So if you are outside of the United States, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, you can still get access to this 40% discount. You're just going to want to email us at nonprofits@hubspot.com and let us know that you're interested in the program. And so there's a lot here to be excited about, but the big picture piece is that nonprofit organizations can get 40% off HubSpot Pro Plus products. And the reason we offer that is because we know that consistency in budgeting is key for nonprofit organizations. There's not going to be a step down discount. There's not going to be kind of a fast one on you. Every year you can count on that 40% discount, and that's on bundled products. So let's say you used Marketing Hub Starter, but you wanted to use Sales Hub Pro. As long as you have a pro product in your bundle, you will get 40% off the entire package, as well as onboarding. And so that's a little bit about HubSpot for nonprofits. We create all kinds of resources for organizations as well. So if you head over to hubspot.com nonprofits, you'll see our resource library for nonprofit organizations, great integrations, information on how you can kind of be part of the community and the conversations we're having about volunteer management and all those things as well. But just wanted to again say thanks to Connor and Em for really walking us through how nonprofits can get the most out of HubSpot. And here to answer questions as well.
Volunteer management is another great use case for CMS Hub. We run into those a lot of like, we need to give our volunteers information. How do we give them access, and being able to share all of that to that specific audience, I think is a really good use case. If we jump forward one slide, and I'll start answering a couple questions as well. But for anybody who might have other follow-ups, Kate, we should have put your email here. I apologize if you want to throw that in the chat. Also, sure. I'm sure you can reach out directly to Kate. But if you have questions on any of the stuff that we talked about today, reach out to either of us, reach out to Kate. We'd love to chat and help support you. I want to answer Soleil's question, and if anyone else has specific questions, would love to touch on them. And I also saw one in here on Canada. I think Kate covered that nonprofits in Canada are covered and supported as well. On one question from Soleil that I saw on issuing tax receipts for donations. So with Zebra, which is a HubSpot add-on, so it is separate from the core of HubSpot. Every time you sort of collect a credit card or you process a transaction, you can use the email marketing workflows to send a receipt directly to that customer. So as soon as that's processed, you could email them a receipt. We see similar, you could do something where maybe you want to email everybody who's donated in the last 6 months, and you want to send the semi-annual or the quarterly or the annual tax information and receipts that they can manage that on some of their tax returns. You can bulk send those through HubSpot as well, using the email marketing functionality. So same sort of functionality that's in there, but the transactions get created directly in the system. And so you'll be able to email and follow up with folks on that. If you are interested in that at all, feel free to shoot me a note. I can get you connected to those folks on our side as well, if that sort of is what you're looking to solve for. I'll give it another minute or so if anybody has anything else. And other than that, thank you guys so much for coming. If you're joining us on a recorded version, we'd still take your questions. Just send them to us directly, and we'd be happy to talk to you about anything that might be on your end as well. Question from Sean on, does this work with other payment platforms like Simple Give? Zebra would not. So Zebra is specific to being able to manage that donation, and Stripe sort of the payment provider. For Simple Give specifically, you may be able to connect that into HubSpot. I'm not ultra familiar with them. Kate, if you have information I don't, feel free to interject. But if they sort of have either a Zapier or sort of other integration API stuff, we should be able to connect to it. But
yeah. So right now, HubSpot does not have an integration with Simple Give, but we do have integrations with other donation and fundraising platforms like Fundraise Up. And so there are a couple other, DepositFix is another one. And then we also have an integration with Classy. And so there are options. The place that you would want to check out those options would be in HubSpot's app marketplace, where you'll be able to filter for nonprofit app integrations. But again, Fundraise Up is another big one. And that integration just launched a couple months ago and has been really successful as well for folks.
And what we typically see, and this is both across nonprofits, but also sort of all the different organizations that we support on the HubSpot front, is that if you're new to HubSpot, if you're coming into something, and it is exceedingly likely that we can solve for that particular use case, and even if it sort of involves a tool switch, and then HubSpot's adding integrations with everything all of the time. So do check out the app marketplace, and then anything with sort of an API or a technology layer you could integrate with as well. More than happy to expand on that one further, Sean. Feel free to reach out to me if that's something that's more specific. Yes, exactly. So the Stripe integration on the Zebra side automatically creates a deal for a person based on a payment, creates a transaction. And if you want to reach out to me, Sean, I can get you connected to folks and we can show you how that works. And then you can tell me whether or not that's better, equivalent to Simple Give. We'd love to know. We'll channel that back to the nonprofit team as well. And then obviously Fundraise Up, Classy, lots of out of the box integrations for different platforms you might be using as well.
One thing, I'm going to hijack a question here. One thing that we didn't really talk too much about was data modeling. And Kate, I may lean on you here for a bit, but with certain nonprofits, the structure of the data is important and maybe sometimes tricky, right? Like, I can't remember who the nonprofit was. They were trying to put 2 email addresses, like a husband and a wife. It wanted to be one contact record, but with both people because they both donated or something like that. Sort of just wanted to bring that topic up. And Connor, I'm thinking there's obviously properties that are native inside of HubSpot or default. There's custom properties that you can make on your own. There's custom objects. So you could have a completely separate object for those. So there are so many ways to create a data model that works for your nonprofit. So if you are thinking about getting HubSpot and you're worried about, well, I don't know if they can support this kind of data model, chances are they can, because we've done a lot of really, really creative and cool and unique and maybe even sometimes weird setups with data models for our clients. And it's fun for us. So that's the kind of stuff that Aptitude 8 really likes and other people really don't like because it's very hard.
Agree. I think the flexibility, extensibility, and ease of use is sort of the HubSpot MO. So if you're new to HubSpot, do check it out. There's specific things that we can help you guys out with. Feel free to reach out to us. And if you have questions on the nonprofit program overall, please reach out to Kate. But thank you all so much for coming. If you are virtual, send us questions and we'd be happy to get back to you directly. And everyone have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your week.
Hi, guys.
Thanks
Everybody.
See ya.